Welcome to the Okanogan Forest channel, and I have been wanting to be up here at my container cabin for a long time so that I could give you an update and a more detailed introduction to some of the things that we've done here. And I hope that this brief video will give you some ideas that may be helpful for you. So let's get started. I only have a few minutes, and so I'm going to walk around a little bit, and the camera will be a little rough, but I hope it'll give you an update on what I have on the channel so far. So we're coming down the driveway right now towards the cabin. And the door, of course, right now is wide open. And I want to stop here for just a minute. Of course, you can see my Jeep there, kind of in the shade. But you can also see, looking over, there's that's the north side of the container cabin, and there is also the chimney coming out the side, which has been shown in some other videos. Now I'm going to turn around here and give you a quick look at the outhouse as it now is configured. The lighting isn't just right, but I think that'll let you see what you want to see. Now there are some things that are new. There are some things that are kind of new here. And one, it's summertime. We're going to walk around the back of the container, which we've done in the snow and also in the fall season, but never in midsummer. It's pretty warm today. It was 95 Fahrenheit outside and 20 degrees cooler inside the REEFER refrigerated container cabin. What you see here is a big blue tarp. I'm going to explain this in a minute, but what we designed was a gravity shower area so that we could get clean back by where the old REEFER unit is. Let's go ahead and walk out onto the pad, and I'll show you how we set up our hot water for the shower. It's a beautiful day. You can get a good look there of the hillside across the valley, and there is our fire ring, which has been shown in some other videos in the snow and so on and so forth. But here's what we did to get hot water for taking showers. We simply painted that jug and have a hose, and we whittled down a piece of limb for a plug for the water, and that really works. When it's hot summertime like this, that just really does a wonderful job. When it's colder, you can put a teapot of hot water into that jug with regular water, and it's warm enough to take a shower. There's 5 gallons in there at least, and my guess is that 3 people could take a shower with that. So now let's go over here. In the past, this trailer has been under a blue tarp, but now I've got it open and out, and the reason I've got it open and out is that we've been cooking and living outside, and it's kind of a picnic table of sorts. So let's go over here for a minute so that you can see something that I've talked about a number of times. Oops, I didn't mean to kick the camera. But you see the ecology block that's holding up the container? That's really very important because it keeps it up off the ground. And it's hard to see right now, but I've got rough cut 2x6s stored underneath, which we've used for one project. Now we're going to walk around this way, and all the other times that I've invited you into the container, we didn't have both doors open, and this time we do, so I hope you'll be able to see a little bit more. The other thing too is that I have reconfigured it in a way that makes it far more livable. But before we go inside, I want to show you how we deal with water here. That's a pump. It's a Swan Pump, the blue device sticking out of one of the jugs. And we haul water on the front of the Jeep right here from an area where we can get water. Now, if we were here longer, certainly we could do some, there are a number of other choices. There are 2 springs here and a couple creeks on the property, so there are a lot of other things that one could do. Well, let's go ahead and see if we can go inside, and I'm not sure how well the camera will pick things up, but we'll take a look. I've now reconfigured the kitchen area right here on the north side of the container cabin, so that as the sun passes through the day and in the evening, you've got bright sunlight. Well, really what I want to show also are these blue barrels, and you can see that one is partially open. And that's because those water bottles that you see on the counter fill up that blue 50-gallon barrel. In the winter, those water bottles freeze, but when they're in the barrel, you don't have a problem, it doesn't leak. And typically, those kinds of bottles don't leak at all. I have shown this to you before, but I have a fairly extensive library that I have put together so that when you're up in the forest, you have sources of information. Let me just say that we made a trip to Canada this time, and I picked up magic baking powder. For those of you that like to make bannock, that's the one to use. That's the one that all of the long-distance canoeists use in northern Canada, and it's quite a subject of admiration. You can only get it in Canada, as far as I know. Now here's my stove system, which I have showed you before, but I also want to show you that sitting on top of the stove is my deadwood stove. Now I use that outside, but that's one of the most important pieces of equipment that I have here up at my Okanogan Highlands retreat. And the reason is I don't need propane. I have all the fuel I need right out there so that I can cook. And of course I can cook with any of the cast iron that I have hanging up there, and right behind the deadwood stove I have a Dutch oven. But I can cook with just about any kind of a pot, and I can also barbecue out of that deadwood stove just using the resources that I have here. And that really makes a difference. Now if you go back and look at my video from an earlier time, you'll know that at one time I had my big wooden desk here. I have reconfigured, and I've discovered that I wanted to move it farther back into the living area and divide the container up into 2 basic areas. This is for storage, for sleeping on the floor in the foreground. The big 50-gallon plastic drums are for storage of sleeping bags and other kinds of things that you'd need. And of course the books continue all the way down up above. You can see there's lots of reading material, lots of utensils that you'd need for living up here in the forest. And of course this is a place where we don't want a whole lot of people coming around, and so we try to make it clear that we love guests that are invited, but uninvited guests aren't welcome. And again, there's all the various books and storage and things like that, and I hope we still have a little light and you can kind of see how the desk system works. But what's important is not that there's a desk here or anything else. What's really important, in my opinion, is that you get the concept of storage. Now, in the middle of the winter, it can be 20 below zero here, so it's going to freeze. So we don't leave canned goods or anything like that, but in our bug out shelter here, we certainly have dried foods and other kinds of things that would store well. And so you could come up here, and if you have water, then you're in pretty good shape. And of course, I was up here this time, just myself and my daughter, and we've had a wonderful time up here in the forest. And one of the important things that we were able to do while we were here is visit one of the local libraries. And that's a good thing too, because it provides material to read. Here's a little bit better view of the kitchen area. Now, that big stove that's on the end there that I have the propane stove sitting on top of could move outside, and then I can put my deadwood stove in that and cook from that if I'm here for a longer period. So that's basically how it is. The other thing I want to point out to you, which is new from any other earlier video, is the framing with the 2x6s just inside the door. Now,